Hey everybody, Tall Tray Comedy here with another episode of Comedy Manners. I am one of your hosts.
And I am your other host or co-host, Azalea Renee, also known as Rosalia.
And we have a very special guest here. He has done the Twisted 10, living podcariously, left his job at NASA for a better job. I cannot talk him up more. One of my best friends. I got him out of bed today with a leaf blower and a roll of toilet paper.
What's up, guys? I'm Josh. Yeah, thanks for pulling me from the living room to be here. It was pretty exciting.
Awesome. So sit back, relax, and let's learn something about podcasting.
All right, everybody, we are here for another great episode of Comedy Manners. If you are new to our channel, our goal is to make better comedians and better comedy. So we have an amazing panel. There is myself, as well as my co-host Azalea Renee, and we have Josh from the Twisted 10, living podcariously. Like, you have done so much in the podcast world. Let us pick your brain.
I'm here for it. I'll tell you all the things we messed up.
Well, that's learning. Like, the greatest gift of education is keeping others from making the mistakes we've made.
That's fair.
And that's most of the point of this podcast, because, as I have said, and I will continue to say, I didn't have a lot of help. I didn't have mentors when I started. It was me falling on my face and figuring it out and getting back up and trying again.
And you had no scene. You had no scene here. You had to build it.
Yeah. It has grown, and it is strong, and it is beautiful, and you know, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm a proud papa, but I am. Like, the comedy scene here is, whether they like it or not, it's my baby.
No, I like it. I suck at telling jokes, so it'd be great.
Well, what do you think the most important parts of a podcast are? Is it branding? Is it the content? Is it the message? Is it chemistry?
I think every successful podcast I've ever worked with, I think a good common theme is that they have one of two things in abundance. They're either A, wildly genuine. A bunch of dudes sitting around talking shit, talking about a sports team, whatever, but they're just wildly genuine about who they are. Or really, really good production. Because when you're like kind of faking it, or not faking it, it's like working off a script and a framework, then you have to have really good production to make that sound right? So if you have like a really framed out, like almost false conversations, scripted conversations, but then it's not produced correctly, everyone knows, right?
Okay, yeah. So kind of like the difference between reading your set at like an open mic, to where they can hear you read it like you're in grade school doing a presentation, as opposed to just having the highlights or bullet points and riffing.
That makes sense. That's a perfect analogy. Yeah, 100%. It's but I guess to carry that, you know, it's even when you're reading off of a script, that can still work, right? Not to dissuade that, but it's so much easier to just be genuine. it's the way lower effort way to do it, and then you don't have to fake it every time you come on the show. So.
Yeah, well, like, one of the things I say about getting on stage is, within the first couple seconds, people have made an opinion of you.
That makes sense. First impressions, yeah.
Whether it's true, false, right, wrong, indifferent, whatever, they formulated somewhat of an opinion about you, and that first joke has to hit, because they have to understand you're funny. You're here to be funny and make them laugh.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like having a good intro.
Hey, a good theme song goes a long way. Like, look at 90s TV. Like, those themes were better than the shows most of the time.
I mean, you can still hear the Power Rangers and know it.
X-Men.
I can hear the Power Rangers in my teeth.
Oh, you had that toothbrush thing?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was an actual thing.
Yeah, you get a cavity, it goes...
My kid's really into the Power Rangers right now, so it's just really present. Now I just hear it all the time. Oh, yeah, he loves them. Yeah.
So, Josh and I have known each other since we were like 14, 15. His kids love me because I look like a jungle gym. They vandalize his house when they miss me. Like, they have sticky fingers and sticky hands because Josh is a very, very high-risk parent. And they will throw it onto the ceiling when they miss me because only Uncle Trey is tall enough to get it off the ceiling. And it has stained their ceiling.
I have toys stuck to my ceiling right now. Because Trey hasn't been back to my house to take shit off the ceiling. I'm not allowed to. I could. I have a ladder. I can take things off the ceiling, but I'm not allowed. I'm not Uncle Trey. It's always right after he leaves, too.
Yeah, no, they're the best. What are your thoughts on chemistry within a podcast? I know with Living Podcariously, y'all went through, 3 different hosts with it?
We had a handful of people come through over the years. So Living Podcariously ran, I guess it would be about 7 years. But in that time, it was a 4-host show. It was chaos. I loved it. It was a 4-host show. I actually wasn't an original host of this show. I was around because I've been a longtime friend of one of the main hosts of that show is Adam. And we the original 4, and then one of the guys had to come off the show because it was very raunchy, and he was telling stories about his bedroom life. And it did not go well at home.
Yeah, that's what stand-up comedy's for.
Yeah, it did not go well at home, and he was rightfully forbid from participating in the show. And man, we still have those too. We release those to our patrons. So
you'll have to tell me how to get to it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so it was So kind of it rotated through, right? So I mean, back to rapport between the cast. I think it can depend on what you're doing. Like, for example, if we were doing a sports bit in some way, you and I could be fans of different teams, so there could be contention. But if we're going to sit around and talk about kids or being dads or whatever, it helps when there's a rapport. So if it is a roundtable style show, being friendly with your co-hosts is important. Go have a beer together. Because you'll just sound better on your show, just like...
Or lots of whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a place in downtown Macon. I asked for a single of whiskey, and they gave me a cup of ice full of whiskey from, what is it? It's,
JBA.
Is it JBA? Man.
Yeah. JBA, he asked for, just some whiskey, like a finger, and they poured him a glass.
I mean, that's whiskey. One whiskey.
Yeah, I said, can I just get a single of Angel's Envy Rye? Neat. And it's important for what happened next. To buy that at the store, that's a $90 bottle. So I went to a bar, and I was going to have it, and I don't know what it was, because the lady looked at me, and she said, neat? Yeah, neat. Just whiskey in a cup. And she's okay, and she looked at me real crazy, like you're a whiskey bar, or you have a wide selection of whiskey at your bar. How do you not know what a single neat is? Anyways, so she puts a bunch of ice in a rocks glass and just fills it. I'm like, well, how much? And I was like $16 or whatever. I'm like, okay, thanks for that. And blacked out eating barbecue from whatever that food truck.
Oh, back
trailer.
when we had the smokers in Macon, those were
Oh, they're gone?
Yeah, the city's you can't make money if we're not.
So I guess one of the other things to balance rapport at the table is that you also have to keep it on track. I'm so bad at that. Don't let me tangent too hard or I will.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this podcast really is about, is the tangent train.
Tucker Andrews. I will say that. And if you have not checked out Living Podcarously or the Twisted 10, especially my episodes, I want all of you to listen to them. I'm going to pass him and be the number one episode. So y'all help me out. I did stuff on serial killers. I had a crazy ex on the show. Like, check me out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're gonna pitch the show, I'll say two things. One, we have it hosted on a platform still, and we're not producing the show anymore. And so because
everybody had kids,
lots of kids. Adam has like 12 kids or something stupid.
Who does he think he is? Nick Cannon?
No, I think the actual number is that he's raised 7 kids between his 3 marriages. Anyways, he's a wonderful human being, but
much love for Adam.
Very fertile.
He can't pull out of his driveway.
I mean, that's the true American way. No pull out.
But
unless it's Vietnam, Afghanistan.
I'm talking about we're still there.
Only Black Ops. It doesn't count.
Yeah, nobody's tracking it. So Twist 10's still out there, but we're hosted on Spreaker. But the way that it's free is that they put ads somewhere, like on the front end or the back end or something. So, like, I don't know how many ads are in it, so I'm sorry in advance. But our whole episode library is still out there. You can just pull it up on Spotify. Trey's been on there a whole bunch. Currently, our best episode ever. Or I guess so. The show. I guess we'll probably talk about the show a lot through the rest of this show.
Let's go through it. What was Living Podcarously?
Man, it was really, looking back, kind of all over the place. It was like a talk show, just like a radio show is how we did it. But we had like bits. We each would like bring a bit. We'd like play a game or have a riddle. And one of the bits from Living Podcarously ended up spawning the Twisted 10. So that we'd get together and just bullshit about life. We were just a bunch of dudes who is kind of interesting, very Bachelor-esque in the beginning with Ron, who was like the dad, older, mature guy, and everyone else was just like, still bar hopping and clubbing, whatever. And then we started to have kids, and the host kind of changed, and then by the time we were done, we were just like we were still doing the show. It was a ton of fun, but we were all just like dads at that point. So there's like over these 400 episodes, a good transition.
That is a long life,
dude. There's a lot of episodes, man. Once you get past pod fade and build a habit, it's so easy. Just
now, what is pod fade?
Pod fade is a term that maybe we made up but it's to describe a very measured thing where it's something, like some 90% of all podcasts that are started fade in like 4 episodes or something like that. I don't know the actual numbers, but once you make it past that and you have a routine, I mean, consistent mediocre content beats 4 episodes of just pure platinum gold amazing content, right? So if you just keep doing, you'll find your audience.
Yes, consistency. We're going to go over this later on, but when you put on a show, it needs to be the same time, the same place, and the same thing. Like the owner of Chick-fil-A said, make the same sandwich. Doesn't matter if it's good, doesn't matter if it's bad. Make the same sandwich. People know what they're going to get, and 80% of your business is
hating gays.
What?
That business, yes. Yeah, Chick-fil-A, not a fan. Which is amazing because they have the best uniforms. It seems totally counterintuitive.
And it's weird because, like, generally, like, I know their staff, super nice. And
most of them are undercover.
That's funny. I hired Adam for the team that we were on. He hired someone into IT because their customer support was so good at Chick-fil-A.
Nice.
Pulled him right out of the Chick-fil-A counter and started working on a full-time job as a help desk person.
Nice.
Yeah, Josh does computer stuff.
One of those people. One of those guys.
Yep, I forget where I was going with that.
That's all right. It helps. I'll force a segue. It helps because I came in really knowing our equipment. So when we started doing streaming and stuff, it was really easy to add that on.
Yes, because you did Twitch at one point. You had the Patreon going. You also had the Patreon with like live video. Then you had the podcast going all over.
At some point that I would like to talk about monetization of a podcast. I think it's a really
We
important
will
topic.
definitely get there. We